Yeah. Let's just jump right over to Matt Makes. Today is what, part 3 of Put Matt on a Board? Is that where we're at?
Matt makes himself a board position. We are on part 3. So this is if if you didn't catch yesterday's show or the last week's show, uh, I basically yesterday I found 16 companies out of 2,400 where I might have a shot of getting on their boards. I used a bunch of criteria covering the fact that I'm basically a white male, age 40, with limited experience doing much of anything, who doesn't want to work that hard, but wants to get paid and wants to have infinite job security. I am the definition of a potential board member.
Okay.
So I got myself down to 16 companies, and I'm calling them
Okay.
the Sweet 16. So we're down to these Sweet 16
Part 3,
companies.
the Sweet 16. Let's do it.
So and shout out to James McRitchie who responded on LinkedIn, who questioned some of the criteria getting to the Sweet 16. We'll come back to that at another point because I really need to think about his points. But the Sweet 16 are basically, if you're on the live stream, you can see them now, or you're watching on the video, you can see them now. There's no real rhyme or reason to them, except that they are very manly sounding company for the most part. Like Exelon sounds manly and tough.
So does Masco.
Masco, yeah. Stanley Black & Decker, Waste Management, Hess Corporation, Thermo Fisher. These are big companies. Corning, Exelon, and Chubb Limited. Chubb is an insurance company. Have the largest boards. So 14 members of their board. So that's a good place to start, right?
Okay, yeah,
That's
you
a pretty big
you
board.
can really get lost in the back of the classroom. Yeah.
But I wanted to take a macro view of just the 16 to start, and I wanted to start with effectively manliness quotient and a whiteness quoquotient. Now,
right,
because
Your favorite things.
because those just fit me, right? Like those are what I am. I'm a white male. Okay, so this is not an indictment of non-white males. It is just simply I am trying to get on a board, and it's surprisingly easy to when you're a white male. But let's up the ante and get to the whitest malest ones. So from a macro view, what stood out to me was Fidelity National Financial, which is a title insurance company. Not like Fidelity, like, when you think Fidelity Investments, not them. It's a different company, Fidelity National Financial. 90% of their board is dudes. And to understand whether or not they were white, it felt really racist and awkward to like look at a picture and be like, yeah, well, most white, not white. So I didn't do that at all. This is a probability that they're white based on their name, their first name from U.S. Census data. So I'm definitely overstating whiteness, but it's fun and ridiculous. So I'm doing it anyway. But Fidelity National Financial stood out. They are very manly and very potentially white. The second tier here, close second, is either Cisco Systems or Leggett & Platt. So Cisco Systems was about 83% men and 85% probably white. Leggett & Platt was 80% men and 89% probably white. So,
To be fair, looking at this chart that you created, most of these boards look pretty white and male.
So to be fair, well, this was part of my original criteria. So this is like a gut check for me. And
that's true.
Now we're kind of splitting hairs. Like, how extra white and male are these boards? But there's more that I wanted to get to.
Keep moving forward there.
We'll keep moving forward. Because I wanted to move into basically board tenure. And outside board. So what I looked at for the board members of these 16 companies was how long do they stay on the board, and how many other boards are they on? Because if they're on a lot of other boards, they probably won't pay attention to me very much.
No, they're probably sleepy.
If they've been there a long time, do they really care if I do anything? It's hard
No,
to know, right?
they don't want you to do anything.
They probably don't want much in the way of change, so I can just be quiet and forgotten.
Exactly. Yeah.
So again, Fidelity National Financial is I mean,
Oh yeah, the winner. Yeah.
this is blue ribbon material. The average non-management board member at Fidelity National Financial has been on the board for 14 years. That's an average.
Yeah.
That's like when I took the lows and the highs, I put them all together, made an average. 14 years. That means there's people above that, which is nuts to me. Leggett and Platt also coming in second here. So we're starting to see some patterns.
To put that into context, in the UK, if you're on the board for at least 10 years, you are no longer considered independent.
True. That is right. You are no longer independent. So not so much in the US, but
that tells you how long that is. But yeah, keep going. Sorry.
and you'll also notice that most board members at all Sweet 16, with the exception of Thermo Fisher, most board members on average are on 2 boards at least. The highest being Holly Frontier, but Holly Frontier I axed for other reasons. They just don't fit the profile. So let's move on to.
Doesn't sound manly either.
I actually, while I was digging into these people, like how long they've been there and all this stuff, I realized like I have zero expertise in literally anything these companies do. Like Leggett and Platt makes parts and beds. I have never made a bed except for IKEA. Right? Okay.
Yeah, but okay.
So all I'm saying is I wanted to know, do I need to know anything about what they do to be on the board?
I know the answer to this one.
Damien, you will not be shocked. The answer is absolutely not. I do not need to know anything about what the company actually does to be on the board. Now, in fairness...
Typically, you need to know somebody to get you on the board.
In fairness...
that's a fact-based response. I mean, I worked in this area. A large percentage of these people do not have any industry knowledge at all.
I mean, in fairness, if you were like a banker and you got on the board, at least I mean, like these people know about business. They know about it generally.
Oh, sure. We all know about business.
They all have business pants they put on. But my absolute favorite here is like Leggett and Platt. Again, with Leggett and Platt coming up, one person on the 10-person board has any industry experience whatsoever. So congratulations to that person. But then it occurred to me as I'm going through this that the board members on these Sweet 16, are they also board members on other Sweet 16 companies?
Okay.
Because here I am digging into like what their experience is and whether or not the companies have, too many, any openings for white men or whatever. And I realized, wait, some of them may actually sit on multiple boards. And here's the shocking answer. Yes, 5 board members on the Sweet 16, on boards of the Sweet 16, also sit actively as board members on other companies in the Sweet 16.
That's nuts.
The 5. Yeah. Now, you can't, if you're listening to this as a podcast right now, you can't see these 5 members. I pulled their pictures. The most amazing part about this, in some sort of bizarro twist, is that it is literally all of the diversity of the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
There is one old white guy, and then it's a white woman, a black woman, and 2 black men.
Yeah, I mean, the cynic would suggest that these companies are trying to meet some sort of artificial diversity quota, and they don't really actually care about diversity.
I don't. I mean, like, but only from their own, like, from each other. Like, it's just a very weird coincidence to me.
There have been suggestions in studies that a lot of these the directors who represent a diversified population sit on a lot of other boards because other companies are kind of borrowing their services, right? I mean, that sounds terrible, but that's the suggestion.
So I just focused
Tokenism.
in on these 5 people
Hmm.
because, first of all, if the boards are generally so white anyway, maybe there's a shot that I can just depose some diversity because they don't really care about it, clearly, given the other board members. Um, so turns out that none of these people have industry experience. So
Okay.
good. That's perfect.
Shocker. Shocker.
They don't have any industry experience and the companies in which they're on the boards. Turns
Okay.
out that they sit on more than the average board member.
Right. Exactly.
So Sheila Talton is the only one who sat on 3 boards. The other 4 sat on 4 boards. Okay.
Hmm.
And last but not least, and this is how I was able to identify the one I should potentially target,
Okay.
Phoebe Wood. I have
Phoebe Wood.
nothing against you, Phoebe Wood. I'm really glad for your service. You've been on the board of Leggett and Platt for 13 years.
Hmm.
And on average, the shareholders who have voted for you have 4% less confidence in you. They voted 94.8% in favor of you, where for the others, it
Right.
was more like 98, 99% in favor of them. So
Right. Which sounds high, but it's actually pretty significantly low for this
so
context.
in this context, that's actually relatively meaningful.
Yeah.
Phoebe, you're already on the board of PP&L Corporation, an electric utility. You've been on the board at Leggett and Platt for 13 years. Leggett and Platt basically ticks all my boxes. I mean,
Hmm.
they require no industry expertise whatsoever. They really have long board tenures, which is great for me. They're pretty white and they are pretty, manly. So Leggett and Platt, I'm looking at you
Yep.
as my starting point
Okay.
to potentially depose Phoebe Wood.
That's just terrible. You're terrible. You had 5 people to target. One of them was a white man, an old white man, and you had to go after poor Phoebe.
Leggett and Platt is a better.
Brazen. Terrible. I
It
I
is. It is honestly. This has
I'm
been the
protesting.
most eye opening in how insulated white can't. I mean, can't a white 40 something just get a chance, Damien?